One of the problems in our field of teacher preparation is it's pretty rare that teachers get opportunities to practice interacting with young people so that they can get better at those interpersonal relations. And so to address that problem, we thought, well, we can simulate practice in our classrooms using video tools. And that way they can watch themselves and they can watch their colleagues and they can sort of figure out through that how to get better at the interactions that they're trying to simulate that would happen in the field with young people.
I specifically am looking at how you check for student understanding while you're teaching, and then how you provide feedback to facilitate that. And then we're really kind of unpacking that and figuring out what does that mean as a new teacher to really do those practices well. And we're all kind of facilitating that in different ways across our sections, looking at different practices.
We're also interested in how we can use online technologies so that prospective teachers can videotape themselves trying out an interactive practice like leading a discussion or modeling how to write. And what is gained and lost by taking class time to have them do that videotaping and watch themselves and use online commenting tools to analyze their own and others' teaching to get better at it. An instructional problem on our end is that we underestimated the complexity of teaching well. Like when you get good at leading a whole class discussion, you forget the stuff you had to struggle with early on in your career. And so modeling for your students how to do that, their questions make you realize like, wow, I don't know how I got good at that. And then you really have to sort of demystify the complexity of each of those things you're trying to get your students to get good at.
A response that we got from students was like, okay, you're going to videotape me? And I think that's a little daunting. But then overwhelmingly this response turned to, wait a minute, this actually gets me better.
In my class, before we brought in the video tools, I had them rehearse instruction among colleagues, but not videotape, so maybe we're a small group of folks, and I'm teaching semicolons to my colleagues. And they did really well with that, but for some reason when you put a camera and you press record, they change their register and they take on a teaching persona in a much more authentic way. And then in their writing, they admitted that. And they said, you know, it's really easy to degrade the authenticity of an approximation of practice when there is no camera, but when it's sort of like preserved for the future, it changes the game.
I would definitely recommend collaboration. I think I wouldn't be at the point I am in my teaching if I wouldn't have had this group of individuals to kind of help stimulate my thinking and my reflection. And definitely trying something new in your teaching is easy to kind of struggle in your own kind of pitfalls that are happening. And by having this collaborative group of individuals who are all kind of digging into this same issue, coming at it from different angles, you learn so much more than trying to do it by yourself.
The pros of it are the accountability. Like if you know your colleagues are showing up, you bring something more to the game in the same way I talked about with students. And people ask questions that you can't possibly think about, and so it only sort of expands and improves your teaching.
I think kind of on the small level, it's, you know, we're starting to really know what's working and how to keep doing this in our classes. I mean, with anything new, and especially bringing in the technology, I think there was, you know, there's kind of hurdles we've had to think through and figure out what's going to work best for our students and kind of facilitate the actual process. But now I think on the bigger bigger kind of field, taking away what I'm doing in my class and kind of sharing that with my faculty members in my department. We're all in different departments, we're all looking at different kind of age levels, so now it's kind of expanding that.
So far, our focus has been on the logistics of testing out these new technologies and learning about, we didn't think about how many groups we needed, what if the Wi-Fi isn't working. We're also building the new tools like writing up the assignments and figuring out what's clear. So now that we've kind of figured out the logistics and figured out the initial tools, we can start scaling up. What does this look like? How can we share this with our other colleagues? What recommendations can we make about the online technologies? We can really get into the nitty-gritty of making the instruction even stronger.